Yesterday, I did a book signing at McKay's Bookstore in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And for the first 2.5 hours, I was wearing the full Urban Honey Badger costume with suit and tie. And I was sitting behind a table just inside the store with all my books on display. You're the Fighter, the Best Public Speaking Book, Fanhood to Manhood, under the pen name Tommy Knoxville, and Ethics in a Nutshell, the Philosopher's Approach to Morality in 100 pages. And I had these intentionally or intended to be signs, engaging signs underneath, with some implications. The first sign said, bored or boring? Well, read You're the Fighter. I'll help with that. I'll show you how to set goals and do some cool things. Are you a crummy speaker? Here's the best book to fix that. Are you addicted to a habitually heartbreaking sports team? If so, you want to get rid of that addiction, this is the one and only book to fix that as far as I know. And are you evil? If so, read Ethics in a Nutshell. We can fix that. For the first 2.5 hours, I had these signs, and I was wearing this silly costume. Nobody stopped. No one from 10:30 until 1 o'clock. The best I got from the probably 250 people that came into the store was people slowing down and reading the signs, in many cases with a puzzled, concerned look, and then maybe looking at me briefly and then averting their gaze, and they went on. At 1 o'clock, I decided I just wasn't getting the result that I wanted, and so I couldn't take this off, it was underneath my suit, but I took down the mask, and I took off my suit coat, and I took down these signs. And within 60 seconds, a gentleman had stopped to ask me about my books, and we had a pleasant conversation. And then within the next 3 minutes, a little old lady and her teenage granddaughter stopped to talk about my books. And then an 8-year-old girl and her dad. And then the founder of a local radio station who actually decided to buy one of the books. This was in the first 45 minutes. So for 2.5 hours, nothing but intimidated people who did not want to talk to me or have anything to do with my odd books and my weird costume. But then within 60 seconds, 3 minutes, 45 minutes, engagement, discussion, friendliness, and somebody actually bought one of them. What was the problem between 10:30 and 1? I was sending the wrong silent message. Silent message is an idea or a concept and a term that I first came across in Tony Alessandra's book, Charisma. I know this cover looks a little bit dated. I bet Tony would admit that. But my own book, the first edition of my public speaking book, also looked a little bit cheesy and dated, so that's okay. I really liked this book and kind of modeled at least the cover on it. But as he mentions in the book, the silent message simply refers to our mannerisms, our dress, our accessories, all the things that people review and then either consciously or unconsciously use to judge us, to judge our education, our intelligence, our values, whether we have anything to offer, whether or not we would be a good fit, compatible as friends, whether we could be a trusted professional or colleague. Of course it's the case that we should judge people based on the content of their character and not the clothes that they're wearing. However, people naturally, automatically, and maybe unavoidably do this. And so if people are going to play the judging game based on our silent message regardless, we may as well play the game and play it to win. So I mentioned in the Best Public Speaking book, in the physical delivery chapter, I've got a section that's actually devoted to your silent message. It's right there at the beginning of the chapter. And you can see that my primary advice here is that the key is to wear clothes and have accessories and mannerisms and posture and whatnot that are true to your personal style, consistent with Commandment 2, be thyself, but that at the same time promote your goals in the context of your audience's biases. And so there's 3 aspects there. The first is that your silent message should remain consistent with your goal. I want it to be authentic. I don't want you to stretch so far outside of what you normally would wear, what normally would feel comfortable, that you just feel fake and inauthentic. So make sure it's consistent with your style generally for that context. I want it to be consistent with your goals for that particular presentation, what you want your audience to remember, to take away, to do afterwards, to feel, etc. Also, your goals as a speaker, a professional, a person generally. And last, also, I want your silent message to not necessarily play to, but have in mind and be within the context of your audience's biases. So, for example, if I were asked to give a keynote presentation to kick off a Christmas Day parade, and I had the option to either wear my camouflage work coat or my black fancy suit coat, it would probably be smarter to go ahead and wear the black fancy suit coat, because this is the sort of thing that people are going to want to see at the beginning of a Christmas Day parade. They want a person who's polished and professional that they can look up to. On the other hand, if I were giving a firearms safety talk in the winter outdoors, I would be just fine wearing this camouflage work coat. And in fact, depending on the audience, they may respect me more and look to me more as an expert if I were to wear this coat. Similarly, when I first started teaching, I was a graduate teaching associate at the University of Tennessee. And just a few months prior, I had been an undergraduate. And as all undergraduates do, I carried a backpack because it's the most practical way to get around campus. And UT is a pretty hilly campus, so you want a practical way to get around. Lots of walking, lots of hills. However, when I made the transition to be a graduate teaching associate, and I was entrusted to lead discussions and then to teach my own classes, I started carrying a man purse. A conscious decision, a subtle thing, but it makes a difference because how often do you see professors carrying backpacks? Not very often. They're usually carrying a briefcase, whether it's one of the hard briefcases or a nice leather one or a man purse like what I carried. But this said something to all the students and also my colleagues about my authority, about my expertise, about my role and the expectations that people should have for me and that I have of them. This was all playing into the silent message that I was sending. And so those three keys, as you adjust your own silent message for your speaking opportunities, number one, make sure it's consistent with your general style. I want it to be authentic. Your goals for that presentation as a professional, as a speaker, as a person, and also your audience's biases. It's not the case that you should always wear a suit. It's not the case that you should always wear a camouflage coat. Think about your audience's biases and adjust your silent message accordingly. And that's exactly what I'm going to do at my next book signing. At the next book signing, I'm going to wear this. I'm not going to wear the honey badger costume because I found out in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and probably locally, it's just going to scare folks off. Maybe if I was in San Diego or something, people might say, hey, and strike up a conversation. But around here, it just intimidates them or makes them think I'm crazy. And also these signs, which I thought were clever and cool, and I'd very much like them still, and they would appeal to me, just scared people away. So I'm going to take those signs down as well. And I'm going to do a better job of tailoring my own silent message. You do the same.